I think it just says that those windows are hot. I think that's what that's saying. Okay, so we're gonna do a dry vacuum test on an engine that has been sitting here and is full of water currently. So we gotta get all the water out of the truck. That's step one. That's water out of the plumbing, because we're only testing the plumbing. We're not testing like the tank. There's no vacuum test for the tank. It's got big giant holes in the top where you fill it. So I close my tank to pump, my number one, and I leave all the water that's in the tank in there, and assuming that that valve is functioning properly, and I can look in and I can see that I'm up against the bump stop. So that's as good as I can tell. That could be failing, but I don't think it's probably a problem. We should know here after a minute when we drain that piece of the water out of it. And if it keeps pouring, then it'll probably means that that's failing. So we're gonna open everything out and let everything drain. I pull that master drain, and that'll get all the low spots. Open up all the valves, drain all the water out. We'll come back to it when it's done. So we got to get all the water out. If you have water left in the system, when you put it under vacuum, there is no pressure, right? You're under vacuum. So your water can effectively boil at whatever the air temp is. You know, it's probably 85 right here now, but even at 30 or 40 degrees, you can boil the water under a vacuum. And when the water boils, it becomes vaporized, and it makes your vacuum go away. It plugs up that hole, basically. So I can't get every bit of water out of it. It gets trapped in the valves. There's a little bit left in there. But nonetheless, you got to close everything almost as if you didn't have any water in there. Get as much out as possible. We got the front discharge valves closed, right? Yes. So everything's closed, and then go around and cap them. If you have a valve that's failing, this is a way that you can test those valves, and you can watch the vacuum go. As long as you can pass the vacuum test, you can then check your valves afterwards. So, cap. Where did I put the reducer? Get everything capped off nice and tight, so we aren't leaking. When we fail a test, that's the first thing I double check, is that everything's nice and tight. Okay, everything's closed except the pump drain. Drain's closed. I closed my bypass, 17 cooler bypass line. There's a check valve in there, and we'll test that check valve when we do this, but that should be closed, and make sure, just close it all, and then we can test the individual pieces. So the next step is you use the primer to pull vacuum. This should come down. You should be looking for 22 inches of vacuum. It's hard to read on that, so there's 2 marks. You want to go a little past the second mark. So here we go. Nice, that's like 28 or so inches of vacuum. I know there's water in there, so it's probably going to, knowing that there's some water in there, I don't expect it to do particularly well. I expect it to actually start to creep up. But the standard is that you can only lose 10 inches in 5 minutes. So somebody start the clock. So I think this is going to do perfectly, even with some water left in there.
And go.
I'm saying we're at about 28. Okay, so 5 minutes into it, and we're still holding vacuum. We have lost nothing, not a single bit. So, that's good news. This one can pass a dry vacuum test. Not only pass it, but pass it with flying colors. So we have vacuum. We have everything under vacuum. What else can we test? Well, there's a check valve after your pump to tank, and what that is, it helps you draft if you forgot and left this open, or if you are one of those people who set your valves up and then try and draft. That check valve keeps you from kind of messing things up. So we can check that check valve. We watch and see how much we lose. We should lose a little bit of vacuum, but not much. When I open the number 2, we lost almost nothing. So that check valve's working good. We're not pulling the vacuum straight through into the tank. We can make sure there's no leaks in the pump cooler line by opening that. Okay, that's good. That's about it that you can check on this guy at this point. You're just a straight pass on there.
If we took the caps off, we could test the...
Oh yeah, we got to do that.
Okay.
So we'll take the caps off and we'll test each valve individually.
Okay.
So
there's one already off on the passenger side. It didn't have a cap.
Okay.
So that
one cap's off.
One
valve's
overboard
good.
is off.
So we'll pop this guy. If we start to lose vacuum, we know that the valve is leaking. Looking pretty good. No change. Looking good. I think your valves are good.
I've got one more.
One more.
There's that one.
Still looking good. So boy, we gotta do something. We gotta drop this vacuum. Where am I gonna fail the vacuum? Do it anywhere we want. You can just open one of these discharges and it'll go through. But let's see what happens when we open the hose reel.
Your drain's still open, right?
No,
Okay.
drain is closed.
Okay.
Or we would lose it.
I mean, or yeah.
Yeah. So, is the live reel shut off? The live reel?
On the dial?
The discharge? Either if you have a bail or the dial on the nozzle, whatever's up there. Okay. So we'll see if there's any vacuum leaks in the live reel hose. It's not a vacuum problem, it just kind of tells us that we might have some sort of a leak in there. Wow, even that is holding holding vacuum, so I'm impressed. There it is, release the vacuum. All is well. Let's pass. Pass with flying colors. This engine is the only, this engine is in very good shape.
So how old is this engine?
This engine is, I think it's 7 years old and up.